p.m.
What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take MLB Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I'm joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG, Paulie D. You can find on Twitter at Paulie with a D's. Paulie, what's happening?
What up, baby?
Another day, another dollar. NBA seems to be going a little bit better. For me, at least today. How about yourself?
I haven't looked in a little while. Like I just told you, walked by the TV. It said Jordan Clarkson was having a career day. I had a lot of him, so that sounds good. But I haven't seen. I don't know.
We won't know until the end.
And I had a lot of Boston game that hasn't happened yet, and I did have a lot of the Nets game, which I think was a good game.
Yeah, the Nets did keep it close. We will.
They won. Oh no! They ended up blowing it.
Yeah, they lost by 5, like a bunch of you-knows. Pretty interesting baseball slate today. We've got a couple prospects, including the number one prospect in all of baseball, I believe, making his debut. We've got DeGrom. We've got Cole. We've got Coors with a really good game. The Astros in Coors Field. Wild slate. What do you, as of right now, I know we haven't really talked it out yet, but what are you thinking going into the slate breakdown? Like, what are you thinking is going to be your approach?
So I think the slate's loaded with good pitching. Like, it's tempting to go all the way up, but I think that secondary high level, or even in the mid tier, you can find some diamonds in the rough to afford some really good bats and go at the field that way. On FanDuel, generally, I do like to spend up at my pitcher, just to secure that 60 burger, but there's a couple guys, like the 4th through 8th most expensive pitchers that are, will help you get 1 or 2 better bats, and attack the field that way. I think a lot of the pitching is going to be kind of congested score wise, and the bats are going to be what sets you apart. It's kind of how I'd be thinking, prioritize the bots.
I like it, and that's going to be part of the tricky. That's going to be what is tricky. You're going to have some players who decide to pay up for pitching, and they'll take whatever scraps they can afford from Coors Field, which I think is the cash game approach. If I was playing cash today, I would still go with one of Cole or DeGrom. I would take Paddock as the SP2, and I would just make it work. Find some value plays in and around some Coors guys. In tournaments, I do plan on getting some exposure to Coors, and we'll talk about it when we get to the stacks, even though I think it'll be popular. But you say focus on the bats, and that's really what it is. Whether it be Coors and you got it right with a bunch of other people, or you just pivoted to another stack that afforded you a lot of runs and had lower ownership, but still maybe cost you enough money to where you had to sacrifice pitching a little bit. So I do agree with you at that point. With that said, let's go ahead and talk about some of these pitchers that we are looking at. I know we talked about in tournaments wanting to kind of go more towards that mid-tier and value tier because you want to prioritize the bats. But what about these spend-ups? If you were going to pitch one, who's the one?
Who be that guy? I'm a sucker for DeGrom against the Marlins. But I really like Cole's spot too. And Cole is cheaper on DraftKings. I don't know how I haven't looked on FanDuel, but I prefer DeGrom. I think they end up very close by, and that extra 800 really matters. And I think they're both going to be relatively, in the 20% owned wise. So, either one is fine. I just think you're going to get some lower ownership on the ground because of that 800 difference. And I do respect the Tampa Bay bats, and it is in Yankee Stadium versus Marlins. So I would rather DeGrom in a world where salaries didn't matter if I had to choose between the two.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you give a slight park advantage to DeGrom, who's pitching in Miami, opposed to Cole's pitching in Yankee Stadium, right?
Slight?
Yeah, I don't want to, get carried away. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I do prefer DeGrom. He's extra rested. He skipped his last start because he had a sore neck, so he hasn't pitched in a few days. That he felt good after a bullpen. So I prefer DeGrom. I'm gonna try to have slightly more of him, but like you said, in tournaments, I don't think I'll have too much of either, just because I'm trying to get in some of these bats, and they cost some money. What about the mid-tier? This I expect Chris Paddock to be one of the highest owned pitchers on both sites. He's 8-1 on FanDuel. He's 7-7 on DraftKings. He's at home against the Texas Rangers, who have started off just horrifically from an offensive perspective. Talk to me about him and the other mid-tier options.
Yeah, I mean, that price is super tempting on Chris Paddock. He hasn't been bulletproof though this year, and he really hasn't shown us like the massive ceiling this year. His like highest strikeout game was 6. Granted, he has faced some teams that are hard to strike out, but I'm totally fine fading him. I think when it all looks too good, it usually isn't. And like this is such a big slate, so many different ways to go. Like, why would you want to get married to what looks like 40-50% of the field is going to do with so many either cheaper options with similar upside or just guys that have done better so far? Like, for not too much more, we can get Lance Lynn, not 1,500. I don't want to get crazy with it. He does have a horrible umpire too, both of them. But on the other side, like if I had to choose just in that game, I'm going Lance Lynn all day. Don't love that he's coming off a complete game, but in terms of the amount of pitches he threw, it's basically, that's what the 9 innings didn't really extend him to throw like 20, 30 more pitches than he normally does. Merrill Kelly is, on the slate, the guy that we can't get away from. And Oakland's been striking out this year, and they're a very right-handed heavy lineup. Merrill Kelly's pretty good against them. Like, nothing in my like brain, or like what I've experienced would say this is a good spot, but it kind of seems like it is. Like I said, they've been striking out a lot. They're dealing with a couple injuries. Let's take a look at their lineup today. They've been putting out some shit lineups lately. MLB fantasy lineups. Like, Semien was hurt. Is he back? Is he leading off? Is he doing the third? Not Semien. He wasn't. He didn't play yesterday. Laureano Olson, Chapman, Canna, Grossman, Piscotty, Kemp, Sean Murphy. There's one lefty bat you're really worried about, Matt Olson. The rest is righties and Rex Grossman and Tony Kemp. So I think you could go to Merrill Kelly today. You're going to get him at 2%. Who else we got on the list? Glass now. Like, this is probably a time to jump back on him when everyone's jumping off. The Yankees lineup is a little beat up as well, and he's going to have that 12 strikeout, just untouchable performance when nobody's on him. So I like that as well. Pablo Lopez, I really like. This guy's looked awesome. Big park. The Mets are that boom bust offense where they either go off or they strike out quite a bit. I think he just had a pretty good start against them, which I don't love, but I believe in Pablo Lopez, so I can get down with that as well. And they're like, there's other guys in his mid tier. Luzardo is, one of the higher projected prospects. Grows gas, has some nasty stuff, but it's Arizona. I don't really generally like that. Urias, we're worried about his pitch count, but he's got nasty stuff against a weak team against lefties in Seattle. Chavali against the, AAA hitting Pittsburgh Pirates. So, there's a lot in this mid-tier that, you build your lineup, you like the team, and then, you can't afford DeGrom, or Cole. I wouldn't even sweat it one bit.
Yeah, I think we do have options. You mentioned Pablo Lopez. I'll start with him. He's my favorite of the bunch. I think that Miami game is low. The Met-Miami game is low scoring. I think DeGrom does well, but I think Pablo does too. Pablo has a 17% swinging strike rate right now, and on the one hand, yeah, that's going to regress. So is his 30% K rate, his 2-point whatever xFIP. But I do think that he's a pretty good pitcher overall, especially when he is at home in this park. The Mets didn't, the line. If you look at the lineup, the Mets did put out. It's probably one of the more friendly ones that you could have asked for Pablo Lopez. Outside of your Brandon Nimmo's, Conforto's, Dominic Smith's, you got Luis Guillorme in there. We've got Ahmed Rosero hitting ninth. Ramos hasn't been doing very well. J.D. Davis strikes out a lot against righties. So I think this is somewhat of a friendly matchup, and I do expect this game to be low. So I'm with you. I think Pablo makes a lot of sense, especially as a pivot off of Chris Paddock. Not that I don't think Paddock is a good play. I'll have some Paddock, but I'm going to try to go underweight. Just because, like Paulie said, we know he's going to be so popular. I guess on the one hand, I should make an argument for the Rangers offense, which I'm not really on. But I think maybe even as going as far as enough as just not really playing a ton of Paddock just in case. I'll have, like I said, somewhere around 30%. But you don't often see a guy that's going to be this chalky on both sides that hasn't done shit this year. And that's kind of what we're seeing. He really hasn't been that great. Now, in his defense, his last 4 games were 2 against the D-backs, 2 against the Dodgers. So he's had some tough matchups, which is why.
No, Dodgers, Giants, 2 D-backs.
It was the what?
The Dodgers and the Giants and 2 against the D-backs.
Oh, I thought he had 5 starts already. No.
Oh, maybe there was a 5th one.
Yeah, he's seen the. You're correct in that his last 4 games didn't include the Giants game, but it looks like before that Giants start was an Arizona start. So out of his 5 starts, he's seen 2 against the Dodgers, 2 against the D-backs, and his first start against the D-backs looked more like what we expected to see from him. So I'll have some. It's really just an ownership thing. The bad umpire certainly helps warrant that going a little underweight. So like I said, I'll be somewhere around 30%. I expect to have more of Pablo Lopez and maybe even this young guy who we'll talk about in Value Town. But I'm with you. I think there are options that are serviceable, and if you get the bats right, then I think you can make up some of the lack of upside you get from some of these pitchers. What about Value Town?
Yeah, so I'm unaware of pitching limits on Mize or Dunning. Do you know if either of them have it?
My bad. What'd you say?
I said, I'm unaware of any pitch count limits on Mize or Dunning. Do you know if either of them have one?
So for Miser, I don't believe so. They didn't say anything about a pitch count. He pitched all of last season in Double-A, but he finished the full season, so I would expect him to be ready as a starter. Dunning didn't pitch at all last year. He had Tommy John surgery last year in 2019, so he missed the entire season. So he's the one that I expect to have some sort of limitation. It's ironic because Dunning has shown way more strikeout upside. I mean, not way more, but he's shown just as much strikeout upside and a little bit more. And he's significantly cheaper. But I think that's the main difference. Is one's a top prospect. They're both good prospects, but one's like the number 1 prospect. And is expected to be stretched out. The other one is coming off of a Tommy John surgery and is expected to have a cap.
Okay. All right. So, those are the 2 really interesting options. You got Dunning for the White Sox against, the terrible Detroit Tigers who strike out a ton against righties. This guy's just been unstoppable, granted against Double-A. But I don't know if the Detroit Tigers are any better than a Double-A team at this point. And extremely cheap, 4.5K. So, allows you some flexibility. And, even if he gets you like a 14, you're at 3X there, you'd be thrilled with that. And then Casey Mize is pricey at 7K against a, super dangerous heavy strikeout team in the White Sox. This kid's supposed to be the real deal. I'm excited just to watch him. They do have a really good pitching umpire. I will have both of these guys, kind of blended into the handful of teams I play today. And then this is probably getting a little crazy, but I don't mind Johnny Cueto. You're going to get the pitches unless he gets hit. He's just the crafty enough veteran in a good park. I just see him kind of eating innings and 3X in that price like he's done most of his starts this year, and he's got a very good umpire as well. So I may need it because one of my stacks is super, super pricey. One of those 3. in the value section for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna have a little more of the Detroit guy, but I'm definitely gonna have the Dunning guy. I mean, there's a chance that a lot of the SP2s don't do as well as we think. He's got strikeout upside. Detroit is number one in strikeouts to right-handed pitching. So I'll definitely have him at 4,500 on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's not in the pool, so you don't have to worry about it. Wouldn't play him on FanDuel anyway because this is expected cap, and you really want that quality start if you could find it over there. But yeah, I think I will have the Detroit pitcher. I think he's going to be popular. There is merit to a White Sox stack. One thing I'll say, I'm not stacking the White Sox, but I think there's merit to it because of how popular this kid is supposed to be. We have a good pitching umpire. We have 2 strikeout teams. It's all fun and well. One thing that was a little weird is in a full season of AA, his strikeout rate was somewhere in around like 23% or so, which isn't bad. But how does that translate to the majors? I'm not sure. The rest of his numbers all look fine. His BABIP was fine. His xFIP was in the low 3s. Like everything looked fine. But that's my one concern is this guy's jumping up from AA, and everybody's kind of expecting him to have a ton of strikeout upside. And he has like 5 different pitches from what I've read. Like that's one of the things. One concern though that they have about him is they're not sure about his fastball. They're a little concerned on whether his fastball is major league ready, I guess. But he's got 5 pitches, so I guess we'll see them all. I'm going to pitch him, just not like a crazy amount. I'm just going to make sure to have him where I need him. But like Paulie said, I'm not really prioritizing pitching as much. Pablo is really the guy that I'm trying to use everywhere to make him fit. And I'm just going to kind of, whoever fits with him, if I get the bats I want in the team, I'm just going to pull the trigger and close my eyes and leave it at that. What about the bats, Paulie?
Yeah, one sec. I'm just researching something.
Something good up in here. Well, here's the first question. Framber Valdez against the rookie in Colorado, who has looked good, but his 2 games were one against Seattle in Seattle and one in Coors, but against the Rangers. What are your thoughts on the Coors game?
I think the Astros will be fairly popular. I think I saw something about George Springer getting scratched. Is that true?
I haven't seen anything about him getting scratched. I'll check right now. I did see the lineup come out with him, but as far as I see now, he is in the lineup. I'll refresh this and see if anything populated. I still see him in the lineup most places. Canandra's shooting some Martine Maldonado at Martine Maldonado at 5-1 on DraftKings. Nasty.
I don't know what I saw on Springer. Scratch that. I might have been smoking something. I don't know. I mean, it's all right. I kind of like the Rocky side a little bit. I do think Framber Valdez is all right. And Bill Miller is actually umpiring this game, one of the better pitching umps in the game, which is an interesting twist. But, the umpire is not going to matter when a guy's getting hit in Coors. I don't think the Rocky side will be anywhere near as popular. And, there's some guys that are somewhat affordable, like Owings and Matt Kemp, that you could also get in there. I don't know. Like, I'm cool with a couple of Astros. I'm not going to say don't play them, but, Kyle Tucker's probably the one I'd want off in some of my lineups. I got my eyes on a different offense.
Yeah, I mean, initially my plan was to play them not any more than any other stack, but to include them. But and it is a good spot, right? It's 90 degrees. The Astros bullpen's been terrible, to your point, for the Rockies. Framber Valdez is a great ground ball pitcher, but he's a sinker baller, a pitch that doesn't usually work as well in Colorado. With that said, this new Rockies look, this Rockies used to be a team that hit sinkers great. That hasn't been the case so much outside of Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado. The numbers have really fallen off with the new squad. So I'm a little torn, and the reason I'm torn is because I know the other offenses are going to be that much more low owned. So I'm thinking, do I even waste 2 spots burning them on this game, or do I just completely take a chance and try to find, go after these other offenses that I like? So that decision I still got to make. Talk to me about the offenses you like.
I like the Dodgers. I just think Taijuan Walker is a joke and going to get murdered by the lefties and just this rapidly heating up, super fucking nasty lineup of the Dodgers. Their catcher, who is cheap, is like one of the top hitting catching prospects in baseball. He's hitting ninth. He homered in his first major league at bat the other day. I don't know if it's his first at bat. He might have got some at bats last year, but this kid's a stud and he's cheap. Like, he'll be the fifth guy in my Dodger stacks in every lineup because it's catcher position, and if they are somewhat popular, like, he's gonna change. I don't think most people are gonna know who he is. But yeah, I love Seager, who's red hot. I think this is Bellinger, great spot. Muncy, Jock P, all of them. Chris Taylor is the only one I'm not really that interested in. But I love the Dodgers. Seattle's bullpen is awful. They should just keep going if they start hot. One of those games where like the backup third baseman's throwing pitches in the eighth, and they tack on another 3-run homer, and it's just glorious. That's what I'm hoping for. I may play them on every team in some form or fashion too. I'm debating on that. I also got some interest in the Twins. I feel like Sano is warming up. Cruz against a lefty, Mitch Garver. Byron Buxton's been doing well. I like some of the Twins today. Who else? The Indians against Steven Brault, Franmil, Luke Lau, Domingo Santana, and then some Carlos Santana, Francisco Lindor, and Jose Fernandez are pretty good plays as well. Even Roberto Perez. Really like the Indians there. They used to be kind of bad against lefties, and then they went out and got Franmil and Luke Lau and Santana, and I don't think that's gonna play anymore. I think they're gonna do well against lefties. That's probably like the majority of my focus. I do think some Rangers as leverage is an interesting approach today, even just maybe like a Joey Gallo one-off. Definitely the lefties. San Diego is a better park for lefties. And, it doesn't have to be like a full stack. You could do like a little like 3-man or 2-man or Joey Gallo one-off. But I do have some interest in that also. And I think that's predominantly what I'm going to do. I don't know. Is there anything else that you like that I should get my eyes on? You're muted.
Nothing that stands out too much. The one team that we are in a little bit of disagreement on is, I know you mentioned Cueto. I kind of like the Angels as that one team that's relatively cheap. I mean, Rendon and Trout are not cheap, but everybody else around them are pretty cheap. So if there was a build where you did want to pay up for pitching, I don't mind the Angels against Cueto. The Giants actually have the Giants are the only bullpen with an xFIP worse than the Mariners right now. They're dead last in the league. The risk, of course, for those who don't know, there are a lot of wildfires out in the right outside the Bay Area. So I guess hypothetically there could be an issue with that. So you're going to want to keep pace. We checked in it. LA seems fine. It's just Oakland and San Francisco. Just some question marks. So I don't know. I haven't heard anything official. Just a couple people pointed it out to me, and so I'm putting that out there. That's pretty much it. I think we talked about cores already. I'm still on the fence of, do I want to get rid of right now. I have the Indians as number 6, and the article actually removed them to put in the Dodgers after I spoke to you, and right when you pointed out the Dodgers, I just felt dumb for missing that one. But now I'm on the fence. Like, do I want to get rid of the cores altogether, or one side of cores and just take a shot? I think I might, just again because of ownership. Right? Just because they're going to be so popular, like, even if you are right about cores, so is a bunch of other people, and then you're going to end up competing with just a larger field. Like, in the sense, if I lose because I don't have cores, I don't know. I just feel like, even if you get that right, if you're right with a ton of other people, what good does that really do you?
Yep.
I don't know.
You gotta be like real.
Right. And I know you mentioned Bill Miller's out there. I don't know. Kind of cray.
Yeah.
There is one other offense that I forgot to mention. I like the Braves today against Fetty Wap. I like both offenses, but when I looked at the Nationals, it's really just Trey Turner and Soto that I like. It kind of just ended there. But
Kevin Ross said that game's almost a guaranteed late start with postponement risk.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something that I didn't notice until a little bit later. That kind of scared me off a little bit, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what were you gonna ask about Coors? I guess.
Oh yeah, if you were gonna go to Coors, would you be more so on the Astros bats or the Rockies?
Oh man, honestly, as much as the the Astros look like the ideal team, I think I'd probably go to Colorado because of Houston's bullpen. I really think that they're stretched out. I really think that there's a little bit of an issue there. So I think I would probably go that route. Holla for a dollar.
Word.
Holla for a dollar. Let me see what Roth says. Only game with any true risk. Looks like a downpour go over the park. Tough one. See if there's any questions, and then we'll do some Dong Watch. We'll do Dong Watch first. Who's going deep?
Give me Kybert Ruiz, Dodger catcher.
Ooh, damn. Getting outside the box. Getting funky on me. Okay. I will go with, I'm going to go with, give me, no. Fuck it. Give me Anthony Rendon. I was going to say Trout, but then I was like, I can't say Trout after this guy just picked the fucking catcher.
I'll take Cody Bellinger.
Cody B. I will go with, Francisco Lindor. Oh shit!
Francisco
Ice cream
Lindor.
man is bumping right now, man.
Yeah. Not even an ice cream man.
No.
Just a minivan. That's why I was like, what the fuck? Some lady driving a minivan. It's South Florida, you know? Things like that happen.
Shit like that happens. Whatever. It is.
Yeah. Joey Gallo.
And I will go with, who was the Dodger you picked? I'll go with Max Muncy anyway. Right? It wasn't Muncy, was it?
Yeah. Oh, no. I went with Bellinger and Ruiz.
All right, good. So I'll go with him. All right, let's see if there's any questions. Andy Stark says, good call in Toronto. That was to you. Good call in Philly. That was to us. I'm fading Coors and GPP. A lot of Washington, Minnesota. Brian Campbell asks, it's my brother, is postponement risk keeping you away from Washington, Atlanta? Obviously, that was before when I forgot about Atlanta. I did like Atlanta going into it. The weather's a little risky, but at the same time, I think the ownership probably just got crushed, right? Because people are probably thinking, why the fuck should I go there now? Any thoughts on it?
You know, like, if you're building a lot of teams, I would say definitely keep one or two. You know, I mean, I would keep my eye on the Roth updates. If anything comes in worse, probably bail. But yeah, there is that. You know, nobody's gonna be on it now. Super high upside team. You know, even if it's if you've got higher dollar stuff and lower, put it in the lower shit. So you don't really care if it gets postponed. You still got your other shit going. But I you know, sometimes that dude's wrong, and you know, those tend to be where the offenses go off when he's wrong.
This is true. Let's see. Is the Dodger rookie catcher playing? Yes. Muncy or Betts in a Dodger stack from Marcus?
You know, I want to say Muncy, but I don't expect Walker to really be in there that long. You know, I'll say Betts.
Yeah. Oh man, that is a tough one. Betts is the only righty in the lineup that I would put that would even be a contention against. Otherwise, because Walker's even the way he pitches, he throws double the amount of fastballs to lefties. You want lefties against him, but Mookie Betts is on another planet right now. That's the problem.
Yeah, and he could steal bases when he gets on,
right.
And Walker, I don't think he makes it past the second inning. So
yeah,
you know, I don't really want to make a decision based on that. But yeah, try to play them both.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Those are not the two. Either of those are not the ones I'd like to leave out. Artful Dodger didn't know about the Washington postponement. I was heavy on them. Who would you pivot to in GPP? So we don't know for sure it's being postponed, so we don't want to scare everybody off. We're just saying that it's got the most weather risk. And even Roth himself says that he thinks they'll play it after a delay, but it is going to be a lot of heavy rain. So a postponement is not out of the question. It's just the highest risk. But if you were going to pivot, I know for Paulie, it's the Dodgers.
Yep.
MG says, question for Paulie, optimal Chinese food eating time.
Always.
Whatever you could get it in. Get in where you fit in. All right, that's going to do it, Nation. We're going to get up out of here. We're going to build some teams and get ready for lock. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire Wise Take Nation, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. And as always, good luck.
Yeah.